Do you realize how powerful language is? And the words that we use really do impact our entire thought process, how we feel, how we behave, how we interact with others, and just things in the world. Hi, I'm Dr. Ann-Louise. I'm a pediatric psychologist and parent coach, and I'm a president and owner of a New Day Pediatric Psychology in San Antonio, Texas. So I've been reading a lot and talking to a lot of my clients about language, especially now more than ever, and how important our language is, how much it impacts our feelings and our how well we feel, how terrible we feel, and just our attitude when we interact with others. It also impacts our behaviors because how we think is how we are. Our self-esteem comes from the language because that's comes from our thoughts, the way we behave and act. Those all are part of our language process. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we tend to pair language, words, with symbols and meanings. That means that as we have certain languages, a lot of our suffering, a lot of our memories, a lot of our joy comes from pairing a language with an experience. So, for example, when you think of water, some people, they instantly think, oh, relaxing, the beach. I think of the island where I grew up, crystal clear blue waters. But that's because I've had positive experiences with it. Someone else may think of water and think of a near drowning experience, or think of a time when they were on rough waters on the ocean, and it's not so positive. Water in and of itself doesn't have a negative or positive meaning in and of itself. It's how we associate that language to our experience. We create symbolic representations in our mind related to that word. So when people feel triggered by something, a comment that people make, a word, a scene in a movie, lines that are read in a book, it's not because that specifically necessarily triggers in and of itself. It doesn't objectively trigger everybody the same way. It's all tied to the symbolic representation we place on it. So if we have a negative experience with that particular image or word or character or look, we will have a triggering response. Versus if we have a very positive experience with it, we'll have a more pleasant response. Which is why not all of us have the same reaction to the same thing. Some people might say, oh my gosh, I love clowns. Clowns are like the funnest thing ever. My early experiences with clowns were like at birthday parties, at circuses, Ronald McDonald at McDonald's. And then it came along, which I never saw, by the way. And that created a very negative view. So some people have a negative view and some people have a positive view. Some people like to be scared. My kids were just asking me the other day, like, why do some people like to be scared? Well, for some people, it had a positive experience. They did it with their family. They watched scary movies with their family. It was their way of mastering their fears and facing it. So it's like they scream, they jump, and then they like laugh, and then like, oh, that was so funny. I was so scared. But not all of us have that same experience. But it all goes back to language. We're not all going to be triggered the same way, which is why when you see on platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, is that we have these images and some people are going to have a pleasant experience with it and others are going to be like, okay, that was so inappropriate. That was so like triggering for me. That was so like, it made me feel uneasy. Oh, I feel a negative vibe. I'm going to unfollow you. I'm going to leave a negative comment. Well, that's all because we have different reactions. We create different connections and symbolic representations about the same thing in very different ways in our mind. The word suffer comes from the Latin word which means to carry. It also means to something that we are unable to carry, something that's a burden, something that is heavy. So the interesting thing is that it has like an opposite meaning. It's like suffering means to take on a burden, to hold on to something, but also to not want to hold on to it, to want to let it go and to release it. And that's interesting to me because the whole concept of suffering has this push-pull, ambivalent kind of feeling. It's like we have two different meanings going on in our mind about the same thing at the same time, and we're trying to figure out what that means for us. So that is interesting because when we think about the time that we're going in right now, this global pandemic, some people are experiencing it in a very positive way. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I've had people tell me, I love it. I work 70, 80 hours a week. I'm always at work all the time. This is the first time I'm seeing my kids for so many hours, so much, because I'm always home. So some people are loving it. They're loving this time to get a break. Other people are like, this is miserable. I'm literally home with my kid all the time. They talk nonstop all the time. Like they are all that I see and hear and smell and breathe and eat and feed. Like, but it's the same experience. People are all home with their kids. People are all home with their spouses and families, but they all have different experiences. And so we can perceive things very differently because our experiences are differently. Our experiences of life are different. So that's why you can't just look at one post and think, oh, that is totally relates to everybody, because it doesn't. So our language and how we portray things are so important now more than ever, because people are having a variety of experiences and they're all valid. Did you know that? They're all valid. So whether you are enjoying being home with your kids or it's the most miserable experience of your entire life, that is all valid. Or if moment by moment it changes, because sometimes you're like, oh, I just love and adore my kids, and other times you're like, oh my gosh, can you please go outside? Those are all valid. Because our experiences are going to be different. The language we use is going to be different. So one thing that I want to leave you with, I think a really important tip about language and suffering and pain and the burdens that we carry or we release, is no matter whether your experience is super positive or super negative, or it's a mixed bag of both, watch the thoughts that you have, watch the language that you use. I'm not saying to make it all peppy happy all the time, because it's not, but to be aware of the thoughts that you have, because we become and we act out the thoughts that we have. So again, all of your thoughts, all of your words, all of the things you think are valid, but don't allow yourself to stay stuck in the negative ones for too long, or the irrational, unhelpful ones for too long. Because if you do that, that's what you become and that's what you live out. So be aware of that. Just be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of the things that you think. Be aware of your beliefs. Because our mind, our body, our DNA wants to fulfill those very things that you think. So those are all important. Again, remember, empathize, be gentle with yourself, validate your concerns, your feelings, your thoughts, your behaviors, but don't stay stuck in the negative ones and the irrational ones for too long. Allow yourself to move. Stagnation kills, defeats. It wears away at your inner being. We are meant to have movement. Movement is life. Movement rejuvenates. It heals. So don't allow yourself to stay stuck in this time. Allow yourself to move even as well. I wish you the very best. Know that we will get through this and it will get better. I wish you the very best. My name is Dr. Ann-Louise Lockhart. Thank you for tuning in.